This is Jeff from Bongzilla, and you're listening to Metal Memes.
All right, thank you so much for your time, Jeff. I'm going to do some questions related with the career of Bongzilla in general for some medias. So the first question is related. How did you develop Bongzilla sounds in the beginning, and how has it evolved over time?
In the beginning, I think the idea was to play really slow, but we had all run into the Melvins, early Corrupted record, early Boris. So that stuff influenced us, I think, indirectly, if not directly. But it was to play slow and just heavy as hell, and all about herb.
The second question is, how was the shift toward capturing cannabis culture with a stronger American identity in your last three albums, Wisconsin, American Can, and Dub City?
It well, after we took a break, Marijuanakin was done in '05, but we've just always been pretty, you know, I don't militant about pro cannabis culture, from the beginning. And it in '05 it still wasn't legal, but after we came back from taking a little break, lots of states were legal and things were really taking off. So because we're influenced by it being legal in some places and still illegal where we live in Wisconsin. It's not legal. It's decriminalized in certain places, but it's you'll get arrested, get a big fine for it, which is ridiculous. And we've been yelling about legalization the whole time. So, but the evolving of the culture is pretty crazy here in the US where where it's at. It's reached super scientific levels with concentrates and vaporizers and every form of it. It's wild.
Right. The next one is
Mhm.
for for fans just getting into Stoner Doom, which Bongzilla album will you recommend?
Most people point to Gateway. I think Apogee as well. You could slip that in there. Those I think are the where we hit our stride, where we really found ourselves, I think. During Apogee and moving into Gateway, we toured really hard around Gateway. We toured a lot, everywhere. Anywhere anybody would have us, we played. So I'd say those two records.
It's a classic, definitely, and changed the way of the band. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
So, what do you what do you most enjoy commemorating through the music during the live shows?
I'm sorry, what was that?
What do you Oh, sorry, they sent the question like that. I think they ask basically, what do you is the most enjoy thing to play live shows?
What do we enjoy most about playing live shows, or what do we enjoy playing live the most?
Probably both. I mean, what do you really enjoy when you
we
play a show, and what do you the expectation for the shows? Probably that's the
we
question.
that's we love playing live. We get off on it. But I think as a band, we prefer the smaller club shows and smaller festivals where things are just packed and sweaty and crazy. That's when things really, click and get crazy and good for us. That's where we really get into it and really gel as a band. I think that's our favorite sort of venue, but we love playing anywhere and everywhere, but sometimes some of the bigger festivals are a little crazy. Huge stages, huge crowds, giant PAs. We don't use in-ear monitors or any of that. We're old school. So, you know, I would say the clubs are where we find ourselves.
Totally agree with you. So, What has been your craziest anecdote from a performance? After 30 years as Bongzilla, there must be some wild stories.
Oh, there are. um, there's tons of them. When we played the Relapse Contamination Fest, we watched Matt Pike get thrown out the first night before before High and Fire played. They played the second night, but he got bounced because he was drunk. Um, it seems like the West Coast, Portland and Seattle, San Francisco and Oakland, LA, the craziest stuff happens at those shows. I don't even know if I can talk about some of it. It's crazy. There's, yeah, people have had to be revived at places we were at. People tipped over certain cities. Oh man, I don't know.
So uh, I have a question related with this. How was tour in the beginning? The first time that you leave your country? Like I imagine you went to Europe for the first time. And how is tour now after 30 years? Probably it's a big difference between play when you're a really small band and now you're a legend. Well, that's my opinion. I consider you as a legend.
Well, thank you. That's hard to hear, but um yeah, we toured Europe the first time in '03 in Relapse when we were in the middle of being with Relapse. They kind of helped, check it out, and we booked it through a guy in Belgium, but it was like we didn't know anything. It was we had no word about guarantees or anything. We just went. We left with no money and came home with no money. But it was great. Uh, but it was hard. We were in a band. We were in a van with a Belgian band called Blutch, and they were driving and tour managing, and we were kind of along for the ride, even though it was our tour. We just didn't quite know. Um, the first gig we showed up in Manchester at the Star and Garter, which I think is still there, that club. Um, it was arranged that we'd be using backline from some British bands that we were playing with. And we showed up, no one would let us use any of their gear. They just packed their stuff up and left. And we played for two or three songs. I think that was our first gig in Europe. And the
Wow.
only reason we got to play is because Rich Hoke was there at the club from Brutal Truth. I can't even remember if he was there tour managing a band or if he was playing. I don't even know what he was doing, but he made sure we got to play for at least a couple of songs. So,
Wow. Crazy.
but now these days it's nice. It's still hard because we're all old now. So physically it's difficult, but the booking process and getting gigs is a lot different. We actually have a booking agency, which we did way back when, but we were playing, our guarantees were $100 a night, $150 a night. So we were barely making it from town to town. Now we make it from town to town, we're not getting rich or anything, but it's easier. It's, you know, easier and nicer. We used to have to call on old school dial-up phones, call the club, get directions. Pre MapQuest just came into existence when we first started touring, and it wasn't good. But yeah, a lot's changed since then. But
Yeah.
it's still hard, You pack a month together of setting your stuff up and tearing it down, which we still do. We still set our own stuff up. We usually have a crew of one or two, maybe. We've had some good guys, but it's still a lot of work.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
the next question is, do you think full legalization or recreational cannabis in America will ever happen?
Not now. Not with the current occupant of the White House. I don't think, well, anything's possible, but for whatever reason, I don't think it's on the horizon. They've been hostile. They were hostile towards it during his first administration, but uh it should be. It's benign. It's just, safe, safer than alcohol. And it's a whole new industry, in states that do full legalization, man. It's, packaging, transportation, growing, everything that goes with that. All of a sudden it's a whole new industry that didn't even exist. And it's amazing that Wisconsin just doesn't get on the bandwagon, you know, any state, but religion, old school politics gets in the way. I think where we live, it's all bars and taverns have a lot of pull, a lot of power. They don't want it to be legal because people quit drinking as soon as they get high.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, you're right
Mhm.
with that.
Yeah.
So, next question. Do you enjoy trying a local food when you're on tour? So, and
Yeah.
they say, are you ready for tacos mezcal or maybe something spicy?
Yes, everything. I want to eat everything. But yeah, I personally love eating. I'm a truck driver and I would plan my trips based on where I was going to stop to eat in different states. But I drove into Phoenix and into Texas a lot and southern New Mexico. But I'm excited to go to Mexico City and see what's happening. I know it's a amazing, awesome city, man. And I know the food's nuts there. So I'm excited personally. And our drummer Mike is a chef, so I know he's excited as hell. So
Yeah,
yeah, we're ready. And we ate, wherever we are, we try to eat the local, whatever's local. It's sometimes it's hard, you don't have time to do it, but when we do seafood and if, when we were in Italy, man, woo, yeah, it was amazing. So I can't wait for Mexico City, man. You're gonna show us where to go, right? You can take us.
yeah. So, related to Mexico, I have some questions. So,
Hmm.
what are your expectations for your first presentation in Mexico?
Um, a wild show, a lot of fun, crowd into it. We've never played in Mexico. I've never even been to a show. My brother used to live in San Diego and he's been to multiple shows down in TJ, down in Tijuana, the Belly Up. He saw Bad Brains in like the early 90s at the Belly Up. Said it was unfucking real. Somewhere down in TJ, but we've never played there, but a friend of ours has promoted shows in Mexico and he, he said he assured us the crowds are incredible, the people are great, and it's going to be wild. So that's what we're looking for.
We can wait. So, are you are you planning any special setlist change or surprise for the Mexican audience?
I think so. It's usually a surprise to me sometimes. Mi-
Great. Good to know.
Mike Mike kind of calls that because of the vocals and stuff and how it all goes, but we have a few extra songs worked into the set for sure. So
So, do you have a message for your fans here in Mexico? People are waiting for you for so many years.
we're excited to come. We can't wait. Can't wait to meet you all. We want to meet you all. Let's get tacos and a beer, please.
Great. So that's it. That's all the questions. But I would love to
Okay.
add more questions for the media. So I
Yeah.
really would love to you tell us about the beginning of Bongzilla, and you stopped to play in 2009, I think, right? So so something like that when you, because it's like a two stories, no, the first years of Bongzilla and then you stop and you back, and a lot of people uh didn't realize that in the beginning are four people. And I really will I would love you tell us about this first period of time.
Yeah.
And of course I really love to take some time, and if you can tell us anything related to Nate, the legacy of Nate, because I would love that the media can share some information about that period of time and about Nate. Definitely, it's a important
Absolutely.
piece
N-
of the Bongzilla history. So that's an extra
Yeah,
question. So I will love you tell us about this.
yeah. Nate was super important and an integral part of the band. He was there before me. It was him and Mike started the band, went through a couple drummers and drafted Mike Henry eventually. And then I drove them to their first recording session. And then I was in the band at basically after that. I don't know if I talked my way in or if it's because I had a van. I don't know. But I ended up in the band. But Nate was incredibly talented. He wrote a lot of the early stuff. If you listen to what he's playing, some of the stuff it's amazing. He was just a natural musician. He could play anything, brass instruments, anything with strings on it. He was amazing, amazing guy. Um, yeah.
How you meet each
Nate,
other?
Nate, and then he quit abruptly, and then Brent joined. Nate wrote, a big chunk of Apogee. That was him.
And
And
how you meet each other, Jeff?
in college, I went to school briefly in in La Crosse, Wisconsin, and I met Mike, Pee Wee Mike there. Um, at live music shows. We were seeing early SST bands were coming through there at that point, and bands from Minneapolis, The Replacements and Soul Asylum, and a bunch of really good stuff. And then Mike Henry, our drummer, was in the military. He was in the Army band. He went through the Marine Corps School of Music. He's a trained musician. He's amazing, and he just got out. He was just discharged from the service right when I met all those guys in 1990, 89 or 90, something like that. Yeah. And we all jammed in various forms. I was in a band with Mike and Mike and at least two different bands. And then I left town and they kept going and they ended up moving to Madison, Nate and Pee Wee Mike. And then that's when Bongzilla really took off. We had a jam room that we paid $35 a month to share. So,
Wow.
and it was 24/7. So we would, go to the bar and go there at 2 a.m. and jam till sunup. Maybe mushrooms were involved and things like that. But yeah, those were the days. We did
Wow.
a lot of work back then. Yeah.
Great, great. Well, Jeff, I think that's it. And thank you
Okay.
so much for that. Are you busy? You need,
Am I busy
yeah.
tonight? What do you mean?
I asked
Band?
what?
Who's busy? The band or me?
Oh, yes, you. Yes, you.
I'm busy as yeah, I'm very busy.
Okay, okay.